Hi, my name is Andrea, and my target was to describe the different tissue layers found in the skin. So, oftentimes when people think of their organs, they only think of the primary ones, like the heart, liver, lungs, or anything else that is vital to the everyday function of our bodies. However, most people tend to overlook the most vital organ we have, which is the skin. Not only does it protect us from all harmful things, it takes up 15% of our body weight, can cover an area of 20 square feet, and sheds about 30,000 skin cells daily. So, like many other things, our skin is composed of layers. Our skin has three: the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. So, the epidermis is the only layer you can see. It's mainly made of flat, scale like cells called squamous cells. Even deeper in the epidermis are melanocytes. These cells are responsible for producing melanin, which is what gives the skin color. Directly below this layer is the dermis. It's responsible for true skin. It's made up of connective tissue, blood vessels, oil and sweat glands, nerves, hair follicles, and many other structures vital to our skin's function. The dermis is responsible for allowing skin to thrive and is also a form of support for the epidermis. This layer is also vascular, so it provides blood support to the remaining layers. Then the last layer is the hypodermis. It's mainly composed of adipose tissue and just used as a body site for storing fat. These layers have different traits and are filled with different cells to help them function. So, for example, the epidermis has three different cells that allow for its functions. Keratinocytes, they basically produce keratin, and which is basically a fibrous protein, that gives the epidermis its durability and protective capabilities. So the next one are melanocytes. They produce melanin and give the skin pigmentation. And Langerhans cells. They are a dense network of immune system sentinels, and they basically determine the appropriate immune response with different illnesses our body has. So what's different about the epidermis is that in certain areas there's more skin than others. So this is known as thick skin. It's located on both the palms of your hands and your feet. Skin is composed of 5 different layers in your epidermis. So a better way to explain this is just imagine you're walking somewhere and you step on a piece of glass. This piece of glass penetrates through these 5 layers. However, the stratum corneum is the first one it pierces through. So this is the outermost layer of our epidermis. It's approximately 20 to 30 cell layers thick and it's responsible for most of the epidermis' thickness. In these layers, cells are dead and their remnants are filled with keratin. These cells are constantly rubbing off and being replaced by the division of deeper cells. So from this layer, the piece of glass punctures through your stratum lucidum. It's a thin and translucent layer, and it may not even exist in layers within skin. So the cells that exist in this layer are either dead or in the process of dying. Underneath this layer is the stratum granulosum. It's 3 to 5 cell layers thick, and it's named for the many granules in its cells, like the diamond-shaped keratohyalin and lamellar granules. Cells in this layer are in the process of starting to die or become hard. Underneath this layer is the stratum spinosum or spiny layer. So cells in this layer often appear spiky, hence the name spinosum. And both stratum spinosum and stratum basal are where cell division occurs. These two layers are the only ones that receive adequate nourishment from the dermis. Then finally, the piece of glass reaches the deepest and thinnest layer of your epidermis, the stratum basal. There are always new cells being produced in this layer because of the constant cell division. A quarter of these cells in the stratum are spidery brown pigmented cells called melanocytes. These basically produce melanin and give the skin color, if oftentimes if there's more melanin, the skin is often darker. This is also the layer that connects the epidermis to the dermis. A simple phrase to remember all these layers is "come, let's get sun." So directly underneath the epidermis is the one and only dermis. It's the thickest and possibly the most important layer in our skin. It's where your sense of feeling comes from, blood distribution, body temperature regulation, sweat production, and much more. The dermis is composed of 2 different layers, the papillary and reticular layer. The papillary layer is often uneven and responsible for the production of fingertips. It has lymph vessels, sensory neurons, the ending of capillaries, and a loose network of connective tissue, which is what separates it from the reticular layer underneath. The reticular layer, which is directly below the papillary layer, makes up 80% of the dermis. This layer contains the roots of hair, sebaceous glands, sweat glands, receptors, nails, and blood vessels. Collagen and elastic fibers are also present throughout this reticular layer. The collagen fibers are what make the dermis tough and attract water, while elastic fibers are what give the skin exceptional elasticity. So if you ever plan on getting a tattoo, this is a layer. The reticular layer is the one that the needle has to reach in order for it to remain permanent. So immediately deep to this layer is the hypodermis. This layer consists of mainly adipose and areola connective tissue. Its functions are a mode of fat storage and provides insulation and cushioning for the rest of the integumentary system. Although it seems like I covered a lot of information, there's so much more to learn about the skin, such as like how does nail growth work, what causes hair growth, and how does sweating work. But for now, I'm just going to cover a simple recap of what I talked about. So I said the skin is composed of three different layers, the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. Each of these layers have a different function that is vital to our body, and there are different structures present in each of these layers. I also talked about the different layers present in both the epidermis and dermis. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.